So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day our producer Louis had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy if a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track extra. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortune Zoology, and twice a week for about 10 or 15 minutes on a Wednesday evening at 5, and for about twice that on a Saturday afternoon at 3, I bring you a miscellany of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. And if you don't know what surreality is, well, you really haven't been paying attention.
The time is 11:32 a.m.
Well, as you may remember, Richard Freeman was here with me a few days before the expedition embarked to Sumatra. And while he was here, I got him to tell me one of my favourite stories of his life as a monster hunter, when he and other members of his expedition to Russia may well have had a very close encounter with a mystery hominin.
John, young people don't need Russian hominins. Everything's about Ukraine now. We're looking at Ukrainian sunflower hats and cheesy t-shirts that say HIMARS on them.
I remember you telling me ages ago, Richard, that when you were in Russia for the first time, you had a very close encounter with what might have been an almasty.
Yes, this could have been the closest I've ever been to a cryptid. What happened was, we were staking out an old abandoned farmhouse several miles outside of the village of Neutrino in the Caucasus Mountains of Russia. This was 2008. And this old farmhouse, it had been abandoned since 1973, and it consisted of 3 rooms and an L-shaped veranda that ran outside of them. Almasties were reported to lurk around it. There was one story from about 8 years prior to that, where a bunch of shepherds had been standing on the veranda one evening when the door at the end of the veranda opened and a 7-foot almasty was there. It walked along the veranda, according to the story, picked up one of the men, moved him out of the way, carried on to the end of the veranda, jumped off and disappeared into the forest. And one of the people that was on our expedition, the Ukrainian archaeologist Anatoly Serendenko, said he saw an almasty there, a 7-foot tall grey almasty, a number of years before, and it was walking through long grass, and he said it was lifting its legs up high as it was going through the grass with this weird gait. Anyway, we set up camera traps and we put out meat and fruit and red wine mixed with honey, which is something the almasty is supposed to like. And then we staked out this old abandoned farmhouse. And there was myself and Adam Davis and Anatoly and Dave Archer. And it got to about 10 o'clock at night, and I heard a twittering noise like a bird, but it was dark and there should have been no birds about. And one of the noises the almasty is supposed to make is this twittering noise like a bird. Gregory Panchenko, when he saw an almasty in an old barn, a different farmhouse, it had been torn down long ago, but he saw one in the 90s, and he said it was making this twittering noise And another witness we spoke to, an old lady who'd seen one just after World War II, said it was making this twittering noise like a bird. Well, we heard this twittering noise and we saw the flash of one of the camera traps go off, and I thought to myself, goodness me, could that be what I think it is? So we sat there in silence, nothing more happened, and it got to around 2 in the morning, and we went inside to warm ourselves around this old-fashioned range that was still in one of these rooms. And Dave fell asleep on a manky old mattress, and Adam and I were sitting down by this old range, and the door to this room was slightly open. It was a few inches ajar, and moonlight and starlight was coming in. It was a reasonably clear night, and moonlight and starlight were all coming in. Suddenly I hear this deep vocal noise, this deep vocalisation that sort of goes bub 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 bub. I can't replicate it, but it sounds like something with big lungs, and it had a reverberating sort of feel to it. And I said to Adam, did you hear that? And he said, yeah. Then about 25 seconds later, something walked along the veranda, and whatever it was on 2 legs, because as it passed the door, it blocked out the moonlight and the starlight to a height of 7 foot plus. So whatever it was on 2 legs, and it was 7 foot plus tall. And I said to Adam, it's out there on the veranda. We grabbed our cameras and went rushing out to be greeted by nothing but darkness and silence. It had disappeared into the night, and we did a circuit of the farm and the outbuildings, and we could find nothing. None of the bait had been disturbed. It wasn't a bear, because a bear wouldn't have been walking on its hind legs, and you'd have heard its claws against the wood of the veranda as well. When we checked the camera traps in the morning, all we got was vegetation moving about. So I can't put my hand on my heart and say I was 12 foot away from an almasty, but I don't know what else it could have been. It wasn't a human being, it was too small. A human being would have been too small. This was a 7 foot plus. And it wasn't a bear, because a bear wouldn't have been on 2 legs, and it would have made a lot more noise. So there you go. That's the closest I've been to an almasty, I think.
But it's not the only time you've been close to a cryptid. Remember when you saw the monster of Martin Mere?
I saw the monster of Martin Mere, but that is more of a pseudo-cryptid. That was just a very large fish in a very small lake. It was a Wells catfish. And it's a surprise to see such a big fish in such a small lake. And, if this happened in Loch Ness, it would be the monster, certainly. But it was a large catfish, a large Wells catfish in a lake. And I've heard the call of the orang pendek on several occasions in Sumatra, and found its footprints and its handprints, found hair. The last time we were there, it was about half a mile away from us in the jungle when it was making the noise. But I've never seen an orang pendek. Dave Archer saw one on his first expedition, first day in the jungle. He sees an orang pendek squatting in a tree, and then he sees it come down from the tree and walk away on its hind legs.
What was the noises the orang pendek made? No, vocalisations better than noises.
It made a number of different ones. The last time we heard it was sort of going ha, ha, ha. When I heard it before, it was sort of going and it was not the noise of any other animal I know. And the guides were saying, yeah, that's orang pendek.
And as you all know, Richard, Carl and Georgie are present in Sumatra, but I'll be back on Saturday with another special show for you. And what's going to be in it? Oh, I don't know. You're going to have to wait and see. So until then, be seeing you.